All right, it is 11:30. It's time for us to get started. Welcome, everyone. My name is Nathan Bennett with Life and Safety Consultants. Today, we have the pleasure of hearing from some of the people at Stonebridge IT. They'll be presenting on cybersecurity, how to prevent cyber attacks before they come to your door. Just as a reminder, everyone will remain muted for the duration of the presentation. If you have any questions, please feel free to enter those into the chat window, and I will ask those of Alan at the end of the presentation. This presentation is being recorded and will be available on our website and our YouTube channel. The beginning of next week, we will send an email out to everyone with information about that and about our upcoming webinars. So at this point, I would like to go ahead and turn the presentation over to Alan, and go ahead and take it away, Alan.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Nathan, and thank you to Life and Safety for hosting us today and really giving us a chance to talk a little more about cybersecurity. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce myself. Nathan has done so. I am Alan Zillick, and I'm a CEO of Stonebridge IT. We are your trusted local IT experts. Let's get into the presentation here. All right, so today's topic will be stopping cyber attacks before they come to your door. Now, I know there's a mixture of us here today, and some of you might be coming from perspective of that maybe you're an IT director for a company, so you have some experience with cybersecurity. Some of you might be C positions, you're looking to just pick up a couple of tips. Whatever your background is, hopefully this will be educational for you, and you can have a takeaway of value. So getting into today's agenda, we'll try to keep it light. We'll go through what is actually cybersecurity and typically what is the goal of cybersecurity. We'll cover our 6 most common types of cybersecurity threats. So what is out there lurking to get us? We'll try to get to know our enemy a little bit. What are we really dealing with? What are we protecting from? What's coming to get us, so to say? Then we have to discuss the human element of it, and which is how businesses and individuals put themselves at the risk. Some excuses or bad practices as we go about our day. Um, we'll touch on the true cost of cyber attacks. We won't get too deep into statistics and the money factor here. We'll cover some bullets that you should keep in your mind as you think about what things will cost you or your business as you're dealing with this. We'll share security tips that all individuals can practice regardless if you're a member of the company, small, large, or it's just you. It doesn't really matter. These are all down to individual as an employer, as a user, things we can do to protect ourselves and therefore our company. Um, and we'll wrap it up with some Q&A at the end. So what is a cyber security? When we hear this word, what has come to your mind? So just take a minute. I know we're all exposed to the news, images, and things of that nature. So when you hear word cybersecurity, what pops up? Right? Just think about it. Right? So often it's a guy in a hoodie, or which big company got hacked today, or something worse. Right? But what is truly cybersecurity? It's basically a practice of protecting your systems and your networks and programs from illegal or unauthorized access, which can then escalate to become a full-on digital attack. So again, it's a practice. It's a ever-changing practice of things that we could put together. Now, why are these cyber attacks happening? What are they aiming? Who are they aiming, right? Well, typically, the whole idea behind it is they will access, change, or worse, destroy a sensitive information. It's really that simple. Now, those methods can, of course, be very profitable. So the next stage of this is extorting money from the victims. Why not? While we're at it, right? If we don't ask for money or ask for money, the goal is to obtain or sell confidential information. So quick in and out, steal what is of value and move on. So these cyber criminals, as sophisticated as they may sound, um, they're essentially nothing more than digital burglars. They're just casing opportunities to break into the least protected home or business, right? So how do they get into our system, and what are some of the most common types of cybersecurity threats that we're facing. So number one, system misconfiguration. What do we mean by this? Maybe you're in a pinch and you hired an employee or bought yourself a new computer, and that employee needs to start yesterday. You don't have time to take the moment to set up everything properly. Or maybe you even did do that properly or had your IT department do it, but it was done so long ago. These things will surface later and can expose your vulnerabilities in your system. So system misconfiguration, often overlooked. Out of date or unpatched software. We get busy, but we get a little pop-ups, whether it's on our phone or computer telling us to update. Well, last time we did this, it took a good 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever it did. Nobody has time to wait for that. So what do? As humans, we snooze, X out of it and move on. It's very important. This is one of the top ways that your computers can get exploited, is the software simply isn't up to date. So when you get those notices, pay attention. Missing or having the weak authorization credentials, right? Pretty simple. If you don't have a password because you don't want to be bothered to enter the password, it's more convenient, or you have a very simple password that anybody can get. Very easy way. Somebody has a key to your kingdom. Malicious insiders. Unfortunately, this happens, whether it's a member of your team, an ex-employee, member of the family, you never know. Somebody who has access to your data turns malicious and they can inflict damage. Not having any data encryption or having poor practices around this. This has become, over the years, implemented almost on every new system, but some of us tend to forget turning this feature on. A few years back, this was more relevant because the systems had to be protected with third-party software to encrypt your data, which translated that some of us didn't do that. So when you experience a theft or loss of your device, anybody could have access to your data simply by plugging into it or opening it. So having good encryption, again, very, very important. Zero-day vulnerabilities. This is a bit of a new concept, a little touchier subject. It has to do with vulnerabilities and threats that come out. And just like the name implies, we have spent 0 days investigating them and knowing about them. So how do we protect ourselves from something that we don't know much about? Luckily, there are good vendors out there that have implemented systems that can protect from unknown things and that can categorize things they're not familiar with as a potential threat and keep that at bay until it's established what is it that we're dealing with. So these are the 6 most common types that are out there lurking to get us. Now let's dive a little bit deeper in here. What is actually coming to get us? What are we dealing with, right? Malware is probably a word that you've heard before. We're familiar with this, but what is malware? Well, by definition, it's nothing but a maliciously acting software. And we've all experienced this years ago in the form of pop-ups or ads, but it's progressed all the way to devastating ransomware that is now distributed by cybercriminals. So it started innocent, but it definitely became something more. And how is this delivered? How do we get exposed to this malicious code? Well, have you in a hurry downloaded an email attachment? Maybe you clicked on the link because you're eager to open it, came from a friend. You got a message through SMS or social media. You answered it. Somebody suggested a joke that you should check out. You clicked on it. Maybe just by accident, you went to a website. You don't even know how you got there. Well, that's exactly how this malicious code gets injected into your system without you even knowing. What happens after that? Well, the attacker now can either lock you out of the browser, which is what we experienced some years ago. Annoyances, we're not being able to open the browser or go to our website, or we end up on another website, we didn't know how we got there, all the way to hijacking your computer and taking over its functions. Now, who gets targeted? Well, typically they'll target companies that they can get some financial gains to obtain as much data as possible. which then can be sold on the black market, or with that data, later we could use it to commit some identity theft and even worse things. So unfortunately for us, it's become more sophisticated. The conversation is no longer tied to just, oh, it's a Windows. It's only Windows that gets viruses and malware and ransomware. It's really not the case. The bad guys are familiar with our habits. They know that we're spending more times on our phones. We're doing business on our phones, on our tablets, whether it's a Mac, Windows, Android, it doesn't matter. They have created a code specifically for that device because they know they're popular. We're using them. So we need to be careful no matter what the platform we're on. Now, getting to evolution of this malware, and it's turned into something as ransomware. It's become the most damaging attack of all, worse than viruses, worse than malware. This is what we're dealing currently today. Now, why? Why is it the most damaging compared to some other bit of code? Well, once it encrypts the data on your device, it does not stop there. It will spread to any other system or device on your network. So if you're sitting in the office and you have a server, it will attach itself to a server. If you have a security cameras and DVRs, you guessed it, it will attach itself to that as well and hijack that data. Any USB drive that you plug in, a Dropbox, OneDrive, anything you have access to, this code can potentially get access to and hold your ransom. Well, okay, so what? Well, it's very effective. It works really fast because it doesn't have to do anything with your data. They don't have to siphon the data. They don't have to copy your invoices, your pictures, and upload it to some mystery place to hold it. It all happens on your device, and it happens really, really fast. It's practically impossible now to decrypt the data to get access to it unless you pay the ransom they're asking within the set time that they're requesting it, or you're losing it forever, or you're at least at risk of losing it forever. I know that the image on the right is dramatic, but really this is how it happens in the middle of a day. Just about every device on your network is taken over. Now, you may decide and say, well, I'm going to pay for the ransomware, right? Not get my password, my keys, and decrypt this data and go about my business. Sounds like a noble idea, but the reality is that you may not get that key and regain the access. And even if you're dealing with somebody that honors that agreement, the ransom that they put on you, you still need to hire IT professionals to clean your system because you can never be too sure that it's completely gone. And in some cases, you need to wipe the whole system, every system in your organization, right? So you're getting a sense of what the impact of this can be. Now, we're people, and we have our own excuses as we go about the day. Unfortunately, common excuses that we see can lead to big problems, right? So how many of you have said this to yourself, or you've heard a colleague say this? We have an IT guy or somebody else is in charge of it. It's not me, so I'm good. Well, even knowing what to look for or be technically savvy is not really enough these days. You need to have multiple cybersecurity measures in place, and also IT professionals to implement these and then check on them. It isn't just enough to put something in place and walk away. This is ever morphing and changing situation we're dealing with. So, common excuse. Another one, we just touched on it. If it happens to me, I'll just pay. I have a little piggyback set on the sign. I'll pay when it happens. Again, even if you decided to pay, you may discover that the ransomware was old. It's been sitting on your system for a while. This is not uncommon. It's part of the strategy. So you're ready to pay. It's been 4, 7, 8 months since it happened. There's nobody on the other end waiting to receive your payment. And even if there is, what's preventing them from asking them for more money again and again and again? right? Not the best strategy. Another angle we hear in discussion with our prospects and clients, when it comes to privacy, there's this attitude of, well, I don't do anything wrong, therefore I don't have anything to hide. That kind of attitude leads to certain behavior, and as an employees, as people, we're more common to give away our information, more likely to click on dangerous links, purchase from untrusted sites, just try to get things done, and we're willing to give it all away. Be very, very careful what you sign up and with who, even if they're real. This one hits really hard on small, medium-sized companies. We're small. We're too small. Why would anybody want anything from us? Well, unfortunately, ransomware it can, but it doesn't always target specific companies. It's by its nature, cyber criminals can just release it out there, sort of like phishing, and hope that somebody takes a bite. Another angle of this is they might go for smaller clients, so to say smaller clients or perceived as smaller clients, because of who you are doing business with. It's not necessarily that size of your company or your team, but the fact that maybe you're doing banking, maybe you're representing a client and have access to their records. There's a ton of value in that. So this is a common misconception about our team is too small. Yeah, they'll pass us by. They don't want anything from us. Last but not least, I'll just take my chances, hope for the best. Well, if this is your strategy, I do wish you the best, but I hope it's truly not. So these are some of the excuses that we come across, and believe it or not, we heard it from the owners of the businesses who had the substantial size of a company, and they had some of these on there. So I hope you're not one of them. Now, so you say, okay, well, what does this mean to me? What is the impact that this will come down to, and what it will really cost me? We won't get into percentages and how many millions of dollars or billions of dollars are in this industry and why it's so profitable. So no pie charts here. We don't have to do any math today. So, but we do want to touch on a few aspects, just so you can keep this in your mind. What really would be the aftermath of dealing something like a ransomware attack? So with that, we are dealing with current, but as well as future revenue loss. What do we mean by that? How am I losing money down the line, right? Well, as a first step, if you get hacked or the malicious code takes over your system, they may get just access to your bank account and they can just log in on your behalf and take the money. It's the easiest thing they can ever do, right? And as long as they have access to those credentials, they can keep doing it. They can try to get your people in your company to transfer sums of money. This is a very common one where they fake being an owner of the company. They ask somebody in the company to do a quick transfer of money from this account to that account. Happens quite a bit. People are eager to do their job. It's another way that you could be losing money. Again, the good old ransomware, they will straight up just demand money from you, and whatever that number may be of their choosing. Whether you have it or not, whether your company is even listed as a multi-billion-dollar company, they don't care. This is a ransom. Pay up. Now we're also dealing with downtime, an interruption to your business from this data loss. The fact that you have to stop what you're doing and deal with it, whether you're manufacturing, whether you're providing service to your clients, it doesn't matter. It all stops. Then you have a cost of your own IT department having to deal with this issue, or outsourced IT if you're hiring a third party to clean up, restore your data. And this is a big unknown. Until you start this process, you really don't know. Am I dealing with a 1 day of a downtime, 1 week, 3 months? What's the plan here? In the process, intellectual property theft, right? Something that's specific to your industry, to your company, invaluable. Now it's out there available to the highest bidder. This is a big one. A reputation and client loss from just publicly having to disclose having a breach. And we've heard this in the news. Big companies can take the hit. Equinox, the Targets, and Sony, Microsoft, they can afford to make these statements. But even if you didn't lose your data, the fact that you went through a breach and now you have to disclose it, that somebody might have looked at some of the data that you have to now reach out to your clients, let them know that you've experienced this. There goes your reputation and trust from your clients, right? That's huge. If you hold a cyber insurance, your premiums will likely go up because you had an incident. Maybe you're trying to qualify for cyber insurance, maybe because of your compliance, depending on what your company does. It's going to be very, very difficult to get the company to actually issue a policy because you have gone through an incident or you didn't have certain things in place. Now, if none of this happens, but what if your vendor or somebody doing business with you traces you as a source of spreading this ransomware? They could very well litigate, and rightfully so. From their perspective, the ransomware came from your email, from your network. You could be oblivious, not even know, and not have anything in place to protect from that ever happening. Now they're infected with something. They're dealing with their own loss. And the bigger the client, the bigger the loss. Right? So if you're servicing big vendors and they're losing thousands of hundreds of thousands of dollars a day, you bet they will be knocking on some doors trying to trace what happened. Horrible. Aftermath of that, some businesses permanently have to close. You cannot sustain this. Your employees will, of course, lose jobs. Your customers lose you as a trusted resource. It's just very, very ugly. So again, this is all that has to do with the revenue and the money that's floating through your company. And this is just talking about bullets, not even getting into specific, which we, like I said, we won't get into heavy math today, but just be aware of this. So, all right, we've spoken about, oh my God, all this stuff that's out there. What can we do, right? So how do we turn your glass house into a well-defended fortress? How do you protect yourself? And just like you see in the slide here, sounds very simple, but it actually is. It's a proactive approach. Being proactive is really your secret sauce here. And so how do you become proactive? What do you do? Apologize for the slide. Security tips. We'll share these as we in a few slides down the discussion here. These are just things that you can practice as an individual. No matter what system you have in place, you can practice some of these to protect yourself. Always protect your digital assets. So your infrastructure, your network, your data, your endpoints, your devices. Put things in place to protect you, right? Systems. If you have an IT department or don't, it doesn't really matter. If you have one, great, leverage them. Get a cybersecurity risk assessment. Get somebody to check out where you stand and what you think you have in place and what you actually have in place. If you have an IT director, ask them. Just ask them to organize the team and get this done. If you don't, reach out to an outsourced a company and have them do a checkup of your systems. See what's missing. See what you're doing great. Be proactive. And understandably so, some companies are smaller than the others, may not have access to these resources, but at least establish a trust with an IT company before something happens. I can't tell you how many times companies will come to us. We of course try to help everybody we can, but it's not always easy to be at the call at midnight on Saturday evening. So, and that's not the place that as a business that you want to be in, flipping through yellow pages or Googling online, who can help me restore my business between yesterday and tomorrow? So establish a relationship with somebody you can trust. All right, so now on to security tips. Again, these are some of the tips that you can practice as an individual as you go about your day, as you use your technology. You can apply them. We will have some at the end. Nathan will actually share more in depth, but you can take these specific tips as a company and put them in your place. And that Nathan will talk about that a little bit towards the end. We did prepare a little gift for you that you can take away with you. But as an individual, what can you do? What can I do today? Here's a few. Avoid using public Wi-Fi. Right? We're very tempted, and by public Wi-Fi, I mean free Wi-Fi in coffee shops, in hotels. You tend to trust it's somebody I'm paying to stay here, I should use. No, you never know how well their systems are maintained, and you'll be surprised how many we discover as engineers are traveling, moving around, that are not secure. Do not fall for this temptation. Use your phone. Use your phone as a hotspot because that's a more secure way. Maybe a little slower, but do not use this free Wi-Fi at your local coffee shop or hotel. Lock your device. Your phone, I know it's rudimentary, but so many times we set the device, if it's not locked, somebody can snag this device. Now they have access. They don't need to know your password. You left it unlocked. So definitely keep your devices locked. Same goes for your laptops. Don't leave your devices unattended in a public place. I know it's not evolutionary, but it happens a lot. Working in a public place, we get a phone call. It's a client, it's your manager, it's whoever. It's an important call that you need to take. We're in the habit of picking up the phone and wanting to walk away in a quieter place to have a discussion. We're completely abandoning our laptop that we had on our desk, right? So be cognizant of that. The report any loss or theft of your device or any kind of security incident. I know the temptation here is to, let me figure out, I'll find it, I'll deal with it, I'll figure something out. You're better off reporting this to your IT department immediately, or your insurance company, or whoever you're interacting with that's protecting you, because they have things in place they can do to either lock access to your data, potentially remotely, or wash away the liability because you reported this and you're no longer doing anything maliciously. You're not deleting data because you don't have the device, right? So definitely report it. Silly one, but happens a lot. And I actually spoke to Nathan about this earlier today. When in doubt, don't click on anything. If you don't know what it is, don't explore it with your mouse and click on things, right? Call your IT support and ask. I know it's silly, it takes a few minutes. It's really better to have a laugh over something than that gut-wrenching moment of, uh-oh, what did I just do, right? Check the link. Again, an email is number one way that we get this malicious code stuffed into our inboxes. Check who is sending it. Always look at the sender. Does the name actually match the email? Does it make sense? Should Nathan be sending me an invoice for anything? Of course, I know him, he knows me, but it's really weird that he sent me an invoice for service that he doesn't even provide. Again, when we get busy, it's really easy to glance at things and open because we saw one piece of information that we trust, like a name and or email signature, and we fall for this trap. Don't. No matter who it is, don't automatically just open attachments. Take a moment, think about it. Should you be getting an Excel sheet from somebody? Should there be an HTML file pretending to be an invoice? That's not a normal way to receive invoices. Never open them automatically. Maybe goes out without saying, but important. Never send sensitive information by email unless you're using some kind of an encryption service. I don't care who's requesting this from you. Right? Even if it's the owner of the company that is requesting, they're too busy and they just want to get that QuickBooks login really quick because they're super busy. Can you email me the password? Don't do it. Pick up a phone, call them, and verbally tell them. Even if it's your own insurance company telling you to send some piece of information to them, like a social security number, your mailing address, plus your cell phone, plus your last 4 digits of your credit card or zip code. No, do not. I know some companies have bad practices and they will email you a form that they want you to fill out. Don't do it. Request that they provide a better way. Now, How many of you have seen these or still have these, right? The death by sticky note glued right on a monitor with a super secret password of 12345 6. I really hope you're not doing this. Please don't. If you are, um, always use complex and different passwords. I know that this sounds easier said than done, but there are ways, there are tools that can help you. Get a password manager program that will help you manage your passwords and create complex passwords that you don't have to have a password fatigue. You keep remembering 380 passwords that you've generated as you go about your digital life. So get a password manager. We recommend a few, such as 1Password, Keeper Security, Bitwarden, etc. There's many of them to choose from. Some are better than the others. Some are friendlier than the others to use. But talk to your IT department, talk to us. We can help you pick one, but get one. This will free up your mind of having to do too much thinking and doing things like this where you start scribbling things or putting them in one Word document and keeping that document on, so to say, safe place. Guess where? In my documents, right? Don't do that, please. Use a two-form authentication anywhere you can. So if you're using Office 365 or any kind of remote system you log into, maybe your bank is offering this, whichever two-form authentication you can get from them, and let them offer this for free, take them up on it. Even if you don't have a little app, use your phone. Those who are not familiar with what this is essentially once you log onto the website, providing your username and a password, they will text you a unique code to your phone every time you log in. And only you and your phone will receive that text and the unique 6, 5, 7-digit code. And then you would have to enter that along with your password. So in other words, if somebody did get a hold of your username and a password and they're trying to log in on your behalf, you'll be getting those text messages. You will know something is up. And of course, the other person cannot log in without that code. So to leverage this wherever it's available to you, please. Moving on, install reliable security software. Again, this is a software you would put on your computers, your devices to protect you. Get a reliable source who can help you. Pick one if you don't have one. Again, talk to your IT department. And even if you do have one, please don't ignore the updates. Just because you bought this software 4 years ago doesn't mean it's protecting you if it's not kept up to date and monitored. It may be broken and not letting you know that it's broken, so keep it up to date. Keep your operating system, your programs, software up to date. We mentioned this is one of those 6 bullets we had earlier as the 6 ways they get into our system. So please don't ignore those updates. There's a reason why those vendors are releasing system updates. It's not to annoy you. It is to protect you from what they discovered to be a known vulnerability, a known way to get hacked. So apply those whenever and as soon as you can. Leverage cloud-based services. So if you do have an iCloud or Office 365, OneDrive, whatever you can, if it comes with your system, leverage it. It's another place for you to put a copy of your data, just in case. It is better than nothing, and it's priced right. It's free. Most of the time it's free, so use it. And with all these security tips, I have to ask, and I know it's not as interactive here, but just give it a thought, write it down, we can maybe share it later. What would be the one thing that you could do to protect your business and your personal files today? So just take a moment. If I was to do anything today, and even if you're, man, I'm really lazy about this IT stuff, I don't want to be bothered, but I want to do one thing. What would that be? Backup. Backup and test your backup data regularly. Really, I know it's not that revolutionary, but backup will give you a one giant undo button for when things happen. And it's the most beautiful thing you could have. Forget all the systems, all the protection, all the firewalls and systems you may have in place. Nothing beats a functioning backup. where you can just say, no, thank you to your ransomware note. I'm just going to go back to yesterday and pretend like this did not happen and move on with my life. Now, don't pretend. Obviously, you want to take some steps and measures to see what happened. The other aspect of this is test. Please test your backups regularly. We've definitely had plenty of cases where clients who were not engaged with us came to us for support and help and said, we just need a little bit of help restoring our data. We do have a backup because I am pretty positive we do. And then what do we discover? Nobody has been testing these backups. The backups have not worked for more than a year and a half. They have a failed hard drive. Nobody has ever checked that this backup is actually working. Yes, they've been paying for the backup every month, but in the moment when they need it the most, it's useless. So please test your backups. And with that, we are at the end of our presentation. I definitely thank you. Thank you all for coming today, and I hope this was of value to you. I am going to hand this over to Nathan. He can help us answer some of the questions that might have come up. And of course, as your trusted IT experts, we always do offer a free network security assessment. If you don't know where you stand today, we're happy to do this for free. Take a look and give you the findings for free that you can take to your IT department or come back to us or whoever you want to use to take action. So, Nathan, all yours.
Thank you so much, Alan. That was a fantastic presentation, and we do have a couple questions. The first one is just in your experience, what is the most common vulnerability that's been taken advantage of? What do you see happening most?
Yeah, so the most common method used is email, an attachment emailed to somebody or email that's urging somebody to take action. That's right up there. Close to 80% of the cases that we come across are somebody's received an attachment, opened it, they received a link, they were asked to do something, they clicked on it, tried to log in because it looked legitimate. They entered their credentials and thought, oh, well, that was weird. I couldn't log into Bank of America, but
Right.
I'll try later. Right? And that's yeah. Still, email is the kind of the biggest crack that they look in to your network.
Gotcha. And just to speak to that, we recently had one of our clients a couple of years ago had their email hacked. All of their actual email messages were stolen by the hacker. And just last week, we got a message that looked like it came from the client. It was a reply to a message that I had sent them 2 years ago. So that was red flag number one for me. And then the other red flag was the sending address had their display name, but the actual address was incorrect. So we knew that something was fishy but I had never seen anything quite like that. An actual legitimate email that I had sent to my client came back to me through a different account 2 years later.
Oh yeah.
So
they're become very sophisticated. Oh yeah, it's becoming so sophisticated. There's been cases, not to frighten everybody, but there's cases that we've seen where email accounts will get hacked. Nothing is happening. The user is unaware. They go about their business. They're getting their emails, as they usually are, but their credentials have been stolen. In the background in their system, what they've set up is anytime Nathan replies to me, I want those emails forwarded to Jim, and I am Jim, the bad guy. So I don't even know that Nathan is sending me anything, but guess who does? And I can now pretend to be Nathan answering those emails. Luckily, you caught that and you just probably trashed it, moved on with your day. But if they can also set up a forwarding rule in backend, now they're communicating on your behalf, receiving data, and it looks legit. But guess what? It is legit. It is coming from your server, from your services, and it's truly you as far as they're concerned. So no email protection system will catch that you've been actually hacked. So you need to have some other methods of protecting that login account, so somebody cannot just simply pretend to be you.
And it sounds like, based on what you and I have been talking about these last couple of minutes, that a big component of that is education.
Absolutely.
Having your people know not to, or at least be mindful of, don't click unless you know, don't open unless you recognize the sender, type of education component.
Absolutely. This is often overlooked by a lot of companies because they look at it as a time waste. As my staff is busy. I don't have them need time. I can't afford to take 20 minutes a month to have them go through some training. But really, the reality is any system at any point can fail. So
Right.
you can have the most up-to-date firewall, the most up-to-date security software, policies in place, um, email filtering, spam protection, encryption, you name it. You can arm yourself to the teeth with these tools. At the end of the day, they could fail. Nothing is 100%. And the
Right.
last line of defense is literally your employee deciding to just hit the delete key. I mean, that delete key is magical in some cases. It's the best
Right.
defense you have. But
Absolutely.
yes, all these things, all the security and layers adds up, so you have a better fighting chance to be protected. Um, but of course, that mentality of not training is you're losing out. You could be investing thousands of dollars in your system to protect you and have a backup and have everything else. Reality, it's still more effective for somebody to hit the delete key than it is to pull a backup and do data recovery. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
a
Yeah, I
direct
agree.
segue, a direct segue from that. By the way, everyone who's on this webinar, Alan is providing us with a checklist. I know we're in safety, so we're familiar with those, kind of like a gap analysis checklist of what do we have, what don't we have, what do we need type of situation, but also a list of tips and tricks, the things to pay attention to. And let me go ahead and share my last screen. So that answers the questions we had. We do have some webinars coming up. So those of you who are interested, next month in March, I know next month is already March, we're going to have a presentation on, is your recognition program meeting OSHA requirements? That's going to be taught by both Don Snazaski, our president and owner, and Russell Christopher will also be presenting that. Then also in March, we had a seminar. This is a first aid CPR AED certification course. This is open to the public. So anyone who wants to can pay for the course, come take it, and walk away with their first aid card. We have the next webinar in April is integrated ISO management systems. And then in May, excuse me, we're going to run a both webinar seminar format. The fall protection piece is going to be informational, classroom based. That will be webinar. And then we are going to do, our person who's coming in is Mike Gutierrez. He has a really cool truck that he brings into our parking lot. And he does a live drop demonstration with a dummy and a weight to show you what happens to something, or just the harnesses, when it's dropped from 5 feet, 10 feet, 20 feet, with and without fall protection. So it is, again, a live drop demonstration. We will do that through the webinar as well. I walk around with my little phone camera and present that up onto the screen. So you'll have the opportunity to see that remotely. You don't have to come on site, though. We'd love for you to do that. That's the end of our presentation today. Thank you so much for everyone who joined us. A special thank you to Alan and the team at Stonebridge IT. We appreciate your time, your presentation. All of this has been recorded, will be posted to our website and our YouTube channel. So look forward to you guys checking that out and seeing you at our next webinar. Thank you all for being here. Stay safe out there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan.
Thanks.